Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here. In today's video I want to talk about a report from Grant Paulson that Jayden Daniels got an MRI on his knee after a maybe minor injury during the end of the Packers-Commanders Thursday Night Football game. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well. We're less than 50 subscribers away from 16,000. It's free, doesn't take too long. Just take a chance on me. You can unsubscribe if you don't like the content afterwards. But let's get into this. And I'm not saying this is what happened. This is just a report from Grant Paulson. So keep that in mind before you're saying that I'm the one saying this. Also, I'll go over a doctor opinion as well. One of those, fantasy football guys that is an actual doctor. So Grant Paulson said that Jayden Daniels got an MRI today. This was, today meaning yesterday, because this tweet was posted on Friday, on his knee after taking some hits last night. He was said to be limping pretty good at the end of the game. I mean, you kind of saw it. There was a play where at first I thought it was just he got hit in the head, I think it was, or the helmet off of the guy's knee, but I think he hit his knee down. You could see him limping a little bit. Again, I'll show the video in a bit, but he waved off the sideline, but you could see that there was a little bit of a limp there. So it is somewhat concerning, but definitely in my opinion, not something that's going to take him out for a while. Obviously, if it was a major injury, we would already know about it and he wouldn't have finished the game. And at most it's a game where it's a situation where maybe he misses a game. That would be really the worst case scenario. And also, in this scenario, the Commanders have a long week, so you have a few extra days more than normal. So Jayden gets to recover and do what he needs to do, so he can maybe not be at full strength for the game against the Raiders, but be pretty close to it. That's kind of my thinking there. I'll show you guys the clip in a bit, but someone here says if he was really here, I don't think he does this press conference. And the quarterbacks are required to do these press conferences and stuff, but he seemed like he was his normal self, just in terms of talking to the media. And if it was something kind of bad, again, I feel like he either would have gotten treatment or just wouldn't have been in the best mood. And we'll talk about some other injuries that happened during the game as well. If you missed my last couple of videos, Eckler and Wise out for the season, which really does suck. But again, back to Jayden, he already had that wrist injury going into the game. We kind of downplayed it. I made a video about it and I was like, it's not a huge deal, but it is something to monitor. And he definitely didn't have his best game. I doubt it was because of that, but who knows? Maybe it was. And now he has a knee injury, which we have no idea if this is maybe the MRI showed nothing and maybe he's good, or he does have a little bit of a banged up knee and maybe the mobility isn't going to be there for a few weeks. We have no idea. Again, it could just be a little bit of a bruise, hit the turf really hard, or it could be some small damage where it'll take a few weeks to fully recover, but he probably can kind of play through it a little bit. But this is just a report from Grant Paulson. And I know a lot of people were like, this isn't true, blah blah blah. Grant Paulson has a lot of sources. He is reliable. He's not going to make stuff up. He clearly is hearing this from someone. Whether that source is lying might be a different story, but he's not a guy that's just going to make this stuff up. He definitely has his sources. We'll see if it's true. And also, getting an MRI a lot of times is just precautionary. Just make sure, for 100% sure, that there isn't an underlying issue where, all right, maybe if you didn't get the MRI, you're not treating it as well and you don't catch something, and then it turns out to be a way bigger issue than it could have been if you just got the MRI, figured out what it was, figured out how to treat it. Maybe you have to take a game off. And if that is the case where Jayden has to take a game off, he, you give him what? He had these 3 extra days. You give him another week. Another week and then another week. So that's, over 14 days. Like 17 days of rest should be more than enough, and they would have Mariota play in that Raiders game. I definitely trust Mariota, but also, he's still been dealing with his injury. He's been practicing and everything, but who knows how truly back he is. But my guess, Jayden Daniels is going to be good to go and will be fine next Sunday against the, I was about to say Oakland Raiders, but against the Las Vegas Raiders. So real quick, a word from today's sponsor. And a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. They got fantasy sports leagues, a bunch of, breaking news on there. And also you can win real money with picks, which I have done each week. So make sure you guys follow my picks. You guys can tail the picks as well. Use my code Pedro on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100. You put in 10, you'll get 20. And yeah, link in the description. Terms and conditions apply. All right, and again, a huge shout out to Sleeper. So let's get into this injury stuff with Jayden, what an actual doctor has to say. Never really, heard of this guy too much, but then, did a little bit of research. Has 144K followers, and I guess is a doctor, Harvard-trained sports surgeon, Stanford as well. So all that stuff looks good, I guess. And here, well, first let's read what he had to say, and then I'll go ahead, play the video. I'm not going to play any audio or anything. Said, Commanders, Jayden Daniels, video suggests PCL, lean towards playing with brace, likely dip in rushing. And I don't know if it happened on this play because, again, this play, I don't really see much. And again, I don't want to get any copyright issues, so we'll just go to where the play actually happens. So right here you see it, and his knee kind of hits the turf, and then his helmet hits the guy's knee, but after he comes up a little bit slow and limping a little bit back to the sideline. So again, I don't know if it was this play or it was another play, and then he just goes down this play and it just hurts a little bit more and he's limping. This is likely the play, but again, I'm not too concerned. The doctor said, if it happened, if it is an injury, PCL, which I don't even know too much about that, but he said, likely playing with the brace, likely dip in rushing, and, it is what it is. Probably if, for a few weeks, he's not going to be the same, have the same quickness, but, Jayden Daniels having a little bit less quickness is still quicker than, almost every quarterback besides like Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Kyler Murray, but like he's still quick. He's still quick for sure, but it's something to watch out for. So we'll see. Not tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I guess they're not going to practice, but they might have some press conferences or something on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, they'll get the practice report out. So that's when we'll see if he practiced or not. My guess is the limited participant. And but maybe he's full. But that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys new. Peace.